Hey guys, Vikas from Campus Movie Fest. Just letting you know that you're about to take a look at a little interview that we did with John Cusack about his upcoming film, The Raven. It's a little bit of a non-traditional interview in that it was conducted over a Google Hangout with our very own Abe Mohammadion, along with four other college reporters from around the country. But we thought it'd be really interesting, and he has some really cool things to say. So enjoy and let us know what you think. Leave your comments around down here and subscribe up there and whatnot. And see you later.
Okay, just to get us started, I'm going to ask the first question here, and then we're just going to have everyone go down the list and ask you one question, then we'll go for a free for all. But John, having the opportunity to film in such unique Eastern European cities as Budapest and Belgrade, what was your favorite location or experience on set that really made these cities come alive for you as Poe's Baltimore?
First of all, like just getting outside of the United States was really helpful to kind of get into Poe's headspace, because it's kind of an intense headspace. So you don't really want to, be around too much modern things. You want to sort of get isolated. And, being in Serbia and Hungary with the cobblestone streets and the old architecture really brought us back. And the fact that it was winter, we shot in January, it was like cold and rainy, and it really created that sort of mood.
Was it different, like, preparing for a role where someone isn't a real person, they're a fictional character, and preparing for someone who is a historical figure that everyone knows?
It's different, but in a way, whenever you're making a film about someone, it's kind of a fiction, because unless you were there, you don't really know what happened. It's a fantasy, but I think it allowed us to tell more about his stories and to show more of his stories and show more about his creative process and get more of his quotes in and his language in. That was sort of the idea of it, was that the construct of the movie would sort of liberate it to get more information and more fun out of Poe, because he was definitely writing, thrillers and cliffhangers for Saturday afternoon, as well as writing, very esoteric poetry and, long, genius poems. He was also writing like crazy stories where, he was inventing the detective genre, and orangutans were coming out of chimneys with razor blades. These are the killers. I mean, he was pretty out there. He was definitely gruesome, and there's a reason he's the godfather of goth.
In the process of shooting it, did you ever get to a point where you thought, or perhaps you worried, maybe this isn't something Poe would have done, or maybe this isn't ringing true with his work, or perhaps vice versa? Was there anything you came up with that you thought was perfectly fitting with the tone of something that he created, over a century ago?
We actually used his stories, and then we used his own commentary on his stories from his letters and from biographies. Mark Lehner, who's a writer who works with me, who did a little bit of a polish on it to try to get Poe's dialogue out. He wrote that poem. So that was very interesting, because he was saying, oh God, I have to write a poem that would be Poe. So that thing, Hell's Brimstone in Solitude, that last poem that he wrote, that was Mark writing Poe. And that was kind of interesting. We would think, God, you really don't want to screw that up. But for the most part, they were dramatizing very, very famous stories that, are pretty much, that's what they are. It's definitely fantasy, but I think it's an homage to people who kind of know Poe a little bit.
In working through the role of Poe, did you find anything that you think between his character and you as a person, there are any similarities, or anything that you could draw upon from your own, obviously, life that would be reflective in Poe?
Yeah, that's the horror. That's the horror. That's the horror. That's the horror of Poe, is that we can see ourselves in him, right?
Right, for sure.
I don't think I'm as like, maybe I am, but I think he's like an archetype figure, because he represents like kind of that shadow world. He's like a Jungian shadow archetype, and he has all the fear and the shame and all the things that you want to hide, and the sorrows, and he once said, I almost feel like I could hear the sound of darkness as it rushed over the horizon towards me to consume me. So like, all that part of us that feels like frightened of the future, frightened of, all of our fears and phobias, he seems to be like an archetype for that. So I certainly have my own share, like everybody else does. And, maybe being an actor, and maybe sort of some of the vanity and all those types of things, maybe I had to access those. But it was definitely a dark headspace to be in, no doubt about it.
Thank you very much, John.
Thanks, John.
Take care, you guys.
Enjoy the rest
You
of your
too.
day.
You too.